So I'm delighted to be here today with the truly brilliant Dani Ruggles from Young Brands, who works on KFC. So together we'll be exploring the journey to developing their absolutely brilliant Christmas ad. So Dani, I think the first thing I'd like to do is to get to know you. So tell us a bit about you and your role.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me today. So I'm a marketing and media manager at KFC, which means I mostly spend my days thinking about, planning, looking at new product launches, essentially all the things that just make your mouth water, how we're going to launch them in retail and advertising, and then how we bring it all together in media.
Brilliant. Do you have a favorite product?
Ooh, tough one. I always buy the innovation, but I would say just a classic fillet burger, original recipe. It just hits. It's good.
Yeah, I'd be there with you.
Yeah.
Sounds great. I always like to get to know our guests personally as well. So tell us about Dani outside of work. What are your passion points?
My biggest passion point that I've discovered in the last couple of years is gardening. I'm obsessed with, putting the work in and seeing the results, but in a very long time frame. I'm quite impatient, which I think makes me good at my job, my day job, where, the business results come quickly, or we hope they come quickly. Yeah. Gardening is the long game. So I love that it gets me outside year round, and I love just like seeing the fruits of my labor. So I'm quite into gardening, trying to grow new things every year.
Do you know that's a passion I share with you?
I
love being outside gardening.
What's your favorite thing to grow?
Oh gosh, that's a tricky question. We grow vegetables, actually.
Yeah.
So I love growing raspberries and blackberries and all of the soft fruits.
Yes.
How about you?
Yeah, I love pretty things. So I love growing flowers, but I'm getting more into the veg as well. I like the idea of not having to buy so much or buy too much, then have to throw it out. But I just like to have a balance of things I can eat, but also pretty things I can bring inside.
Yeah. I like the physical side and the goodness for your mental health as well. It's
totally.
A great escape.
I love it
from pressure. So I wanted to congratulate you.
Thank you
for having one of the top performing Christmas ads for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's sensational. Because Christmas advertising is up there with the best in the UK.
It is.
Everybody ups their game. So to be top of that is simply phenomenal. So well done.
Thank you. Yeah, the bar is very high, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. So before we take a look at the ad, it'd be great if you could just set some context around, what was happening when you were creating the ad and what was in the brief.
Yeah, definitely. So every year the challenge can change for us, and we'd had a couple of years a while back on playing more in the brand space and actually had a fairly successful brand ad with no product tied to it called Chicken versus Turkey. Times had moved on in the past probably 5 years. We were much more product focused, innovation focused. That's how you drive the sales results. And we had a really clear brief this year and challenge because we had an amazing product that our food and innovation teams had developed. And so we felt really confident in the product. And that gave us the focus in the brief, which is always the challenge. What is the priority? The priority was driving sales, driving awareness of that product and getting people to come in and buy it during that Christmas season. So that was the brief. And then we're also at the same time asking ourselves, do we need a platform for creative consistency at Christmas? So that was kind of a secondary one for us to ponder as we went through the creative process.
Interesting. So I think the other important context here is that, you have a smaller budget than some of your competitors.
Yep.
So you've got to also develop creative that punches above its weight. It's very noisy. So how did that inform and shape what you set out to achieve?
Yeah.
Was that something you were really mindful of?
We're very mindful of it. I mean, we are a big advertiser, but the bigger guys are bigger. They're a lot bigger and everyone is spending at Christmas. So you're not just competing in the category, you're really competing for attention with all advertisers out there. So the bar and the bar is high, the pressure is on. We're very aware of it.
Yeah.
And for us, distinctiveness is often the challenge we bring to ourselves to make sure that everything that we're doing is attributed to our brand, and then high creative quality to really cut through that clutter, because it is a crazy clutter time of year, isn't it? It's kind of like the Super Bowl of ads. So we wanted to make sure that the output coming from us would help cut through.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a real risk at this time of year that there's a sea of sameness.
Definitely.
You know, because you get your typical Christmas rules, you know, the kind of the vibe that you generally tend to get.
Yeah.
But the way to succeed is to disrupt that and do something totally different.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you kind of know what to expect out of Christmas ads to an extent, right?
Yep.
You're always asking your questions, what are the big guys going to do this year? But you know it's going to be sentimental, either, you know, that jolly Christmas joy or maybe tugging on your heartstrings. Like you can kind of expect that. You know, everything's going to look quite Christmassy as well. Like the Christmas settings at home, around the tree, around the table. Like we kind of know what we're up against for the most part.
Yeah, those Christmas cues.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
quite hard to say.
It is. Or maybe you call them the tropes of Christmas. I mean, they're real for the customer, but they're everywhere in advertising at Christmas.
And they make you bland. So
yeah,
let's have a look at how you disrupted that.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the ad.
Great.
Okay, so I'm sure those of you watching or listening now are smiling at the twist. So it's really obvious that, you know, you set out to banish the bland here. And we just talked about those unwritten rules. I think for me, Cadbury really kind of signalled a change in 2022 with Secret Santa. And they were in a similar kind of position. So they had a smaller budget and they set out to break the rules in the same way that you've done. And what we see at Kantar is that distinctiveness is really important. So if you look at Cannes award winners or IPA effectiveness award winners, they land on average in the top 20% for ad distinctiveness. And that's something that your ad did really well on. So you delivered against that being bold brilliantly. Yeah, but you weren't just rebelling against the rules. You were rebelling against what people were telling you they wanted in that ad. I think that's a really bold, brave thing to do. What gave you the conviction that that was the right thing to do?
Great question. And it definitely was a risk to an extent. First, we had to find a role for our brand at Christmas. So we went back to the insights and there was one that really stuck. And actually, it's an insight from the brand work from a few years ago, which is over a third of people don't eat turkey at Christmas because they like it or because it tastes good, but because it's tradition. And we know how important, you're nodding along. Does it sound familiar?
I'm in that camp.
Yeah, I mean, we all are, aren't we?
Yeah.
And people want tradition at Christmas. It's like the one time of year where you don't really want new news, wacky products, you know, you want tradition. So we kind of had this enemy, which is a weird thing to say, which is the protein of turkey became our enemy, because for us, KFC, we are all about the chicken. And so that gave us kind of our North Star, our anchor point.
Yeah.
And then there's this other kind of category convention, which is the customer is always right, especially in hospitality, right? There's no shortage of brands out there saying, you asked for it, you've been demanding it, and we delivered. We've done it, you know, we're not immune to that either. But in this case, because we are KFC, because we are all about the chicken at the end of the day, that gave us a really compelling reason for us to actually not agree with what the customer wanted at this time. But it's a big risk, right? Because not only are we not giving the customer what they want, which they're telling us they want turkey because they want tradition at Christmas, we're not going to give it to them. And we're going to tell them we're not going to give it to them. Yeah. So it's kind of like a double risk. So it all comes down to the execution so that you don't do that in a way that people just hate you, because that is the possible outcome if you don't do it right.
Yes. Yeah. So you had to really make sure the humour landed well and that the tone of voice and everything came across right.
Absolutely.
So I wanted just to share some of the verbatims of how this ad made people feel and what they thought about it. So it was quite cheeky towards the public. The fact KFC sticks to what it stands for, which is chicken. I love that. That really resonated with people. Someone talking about the insight you had there. I hate turkey. It's so dry. This made me laugh out loud. Really, really clever response. I liked the imagery, and that we ignored you again at the end gave me a giggle.
Yeah.
So you can see it landed brilliantly. Now, we know humour is supremely powerful from an effectiveness point of view. So the IPA data shows that you get more business effects when you use humour well. So things like value, volume, market share, profitability, importantly, are all better. So funny ads are more effective. Tell us about the path to getting there, to using humour well. Was it hard to get the business to buy into that idea?
Yeah, great question. It wasn't hard because it felt so inherently us. Yeah. You know, we were founded on chicken. We're known to be the best at chicken. We make delicious chicken. And we've now come up with a product that continues to use our chicken. So it felt just really true to who we are as a business and as a brand. But then it really came down to the execution, right? Yeah. As I said, there's that possible risk. We know this is the right creative path for us, but then how do you deliver that in a way that gets noticed? Because we talked about the role of breaking through that clutter, gets noticed for the right reasons.
Yes. Yeah. So I think from what you've shared before, you really focused on getting the attention to detail right in the execution. Yes. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Like how important was that? How much of a focus for that was you in developing the final execution?
Yes, so important. My mind is being cast back now to like sweating every detail, every comma, every punctuation mark, every word. So the ad, as you can see, takes real consumer comments, mostly tweets from, they're called tweets then, and we're replicating them as is. And so it was really important that, you know, there's spelling mistakes or grammar, weird punctuation. Yeah. We have to keep it all because that's kind of part of the charm. This is real people who we had to reach out to and get their permission to put their random tweets from years ago into our ads. Because it had to make sure that the tone overall was charming and witty and not scolding the customer for giving us a suggestion that we didn't want. You know, we had to make sure that rug pull at the end was bold, confident and not apologetic, but funny. Yes. So that that rug pull lands and doesn't just make people angry.
Yeah, so you were laughing with them,
exactly,
not laughing at them. So the joke kind of wasn't on them.
Yeah, and we kind of had to go along with the joke, like the execution and the craft of how we're playing up, you know, this chef in the kitchen making this new product. We had to treat it as seriously as if he was following the suggestion. He was crafting this amazing turkey burger. So we had to treat it with that level of seriousness, even though at the end, actually, no. We're not doing that.
We're sticking with chicken.
Exactly.
So what we saw in the data and in people's responses on their faces, so with our facial coding, we capture people's reactions as they watch the ad moment by moment, and we do that twice. And what we can see is that build up to that tension worked brilliantly to that reveal moment, and then the eruption of smiles on the face as that rug pull happens. So you absolutely nailed it. But what also makes it work brilliantly, I think, is the music.
Yes, definitely. We knew that the music was going to be important here, and we actually went on a bit of a journey because I think the music is what gives it that gravitas. Somehow it makes it a bit Christmassy, even though like classical music doesn't equal Christmas, but it kind of does to people. Yeah. And we went on a journey with that one. We thought we wanted something that like kind of thematically talked about being confident in who we are, like this is me from The Greatest Showman, which I mean, if you were to put that on the ad, I just do not think it would land the way it did. The craft wouldn't be there, but we found a great director and he was really passionate and kind of showed us that the right way to do this would be through an opera style music and specifically that track as well. And so once we laid that on, we knew we were on to winner because it really, as you said, it builds that like crescendo, that reveal. It feels really intense. And then we do the rug pull at the end. But the music maintains that level of gravitas.
It does, absolutely. Yeah. So we had people saying things like, I liked the dramatic music and the fact that it's different. So I think it's a brilliant example of how music can elevate the effectiveness of an idea.
Yeah.
Because it shapes how you experience it. So as you say, it really builds that anticipation even higher than it might have done with an alternative choice. And so the joke lands harder and more effectively.
Exactly, like that
as a result.
Yeah, that crescendo of music with the like boldness of the text of like, we heard you when we ignored you. It kind of creates that perfect, oh, you got me kind of rug pull moment.
Yeah. And I also think the fact that it isn't a typical Christmas track helps with the difference as well, and makes it stand out more and earn attention more effectively.
Yeah.
So funny ads, we know, can be really effective, as we've already touched on. But when you work in advertising, your job is in part to entertain.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't connect to the brand, then it's just entertainment and not advertising.
Yes.
So branding here is phenomenal in the top 3% of UK ads, which is brilliant. What do you think sits behind that? How do you think it's so unmistakably an ad for KFC?
Yeah, when you look back, actually, you realize it is an extremely branded ad, despite not having logos plastered everywhere. It's not shot in a KFC restaurant, for example, but by using those real tweets that literally all reference the brand, you've got the brand every couple of seconds, don't you? Because it's real customers saying KFC should do this. So I think we got quite lucky with the execution of that idea, that you've got our brand in the first couple of seconds and then all the way throughout. And then I think tonally it also helps with that distinctiveness, because we've built up a really specific tone of voice that is, witty. It's confident in ourselves, but there's an element of charm as well. It's not arrogant or too bullshy, but it is confident. So I think it was that combination of, as I said, the sweating every single word, how we say no in a way that is saying no. We're not apologizing for saying no, but it's a no. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. And I think it's brilliant that you talk about your emotive tone of voice, because a lot of people, when you talk about consistency, which we know is key, tend to think about distinctive brand assets, and that's the only way to do it. But actually your tone of voice is key, because if you're consistent with that, it becomes instantly recognizable and ownable.
Yeah.
And the other thing that works really well in this ad is what we call the creative magnifier. So people don't remember all the detail of the ad. So all the detail that you put sweat into makes a difference, but people won't remember it.
Of course. I don't blame them.
But what they do remember is the peak moment or the gist. And in this case, in that peak moment of the rug pull, KFC is absolutely central to that, central to the joke and what makes people laugh. So that makes it work really well. So in addition to the branding data that we had, we also have some diagnostics. And what we saw from that was things like fit, which you just mentioned, Dani, is in the top 3%.
Yeah.
So it fits with what people think about the brand. Focus. So that's how involved is the brand in the bits people remember. Top 4% could only be an ad for KFC. Top 3%, and brand cues is the same. So branding's really being supported by lots of different levers and not just by brand cues. So I think it's an absolutely fantastic example of how to do that and do it brilliantly.
Yeah, great. I love those stats.
So what about the social response? I would imagine there was some banter that came in response to this ad when it aired.
There was. And the comments that you just shared is what we saw on social as well. Like, people don't often talk about your advertising, right? And that's okay. We don't expect customers to be thinking about our ads as much as we are. But when you see them start to talk about it and just like they're in on the joke and they love the element of surprise and the confidence in it, gave us confidence that we knew that we got that cut through that we wanted.
Yes.
And we actually saw a really positive increase, like over 40% increase in brand buzz versus previous Christmases, which phenomenal. Is, as I said, we had a sales commercial job to do, but we also wanted to get noticed at Christmas. So yeah, well done. Thank you.
So you got the social buzz.
Yeah.
How about the sales? So we've seen it's one of our top performing ads. You aired it for the first time in 2023.
Yeah.
Again in 2024. We'll talk about 2025 in a minute. So we would expect the sales would follow. What happened?
They did. The good news is they did. Yeah, actually too well. So we exceeded our forecast by over 50%. So we actually sold out in advance of Christmas, which sounds like a good problem to have, but it's also a bit of a missed opportunity. So we had to get a little bit sharper on our forecasting for the next year. So yeah, great that it got the brand notice, but it also delivered the commercial result that it was tasked to do.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting because I think that blend of product and brand this ad does brilliantly because it builds fame, it conveys what makes KFC meaningful and different to people, but it also creates that anticipation around the product. It makes you hungry, makes you want it. So we had people saying things like, oh, the Stacker Christmas burger looks so tempting and appealing to eat. The product looked tasty and appetizing. So in addition to creating fame, you're also creating that anticipation and desire as well.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, it is an ad about a burger, right? It's people suggesting something and us saying,
stacker.
Yeah, exactly. And then us saying, no, we're not going to do that, but we've given you this, actually. We've given you all the flavors of Christmas with a chicken burger.
It's making me hungry.
Yeah, me too.
So, what made you decide to go ahead and reuse the same ad?
Yeah, great question.
And are you able to share with us what's happening this year?
Yeah, I can. So I think marketers can be guilty of getting bored of our own work well in advance of when the consumer is. Customers are just not thinking, oh, I wonder what product and ad KFC is going to launch this Christmas. They just aren't. We get bored of our work well in advance of when customers do.
True.
And as I just said, it delivered, right? It did well. So we've got a product that we really back, an ad that we know has done well. I think it would be foolish to throw all that away to try to capture something else. So yeah, the ad will be running again this year. We're bringing back the product once again because we know customers love it. It's a great burger. It fits the codes of Christmas that they're expecting, which is all those flavors of Christmas. But then we're launching it in a way that, as we said, stands out a little bit.
Fantastic. So I think that consistency is really interesting. And when we looked at Christmas ads last year, we saw the top performers were reusing an ad. So we had Cadbury and Secret Santa, bit of a trend going on here. We also had Coke with Holidays Are Coming ad. The music's already in my head. It just happens to me. And they've been doing that for over 25 years now. So it just is testament to sticking with what works.
Yeah.
Or also brands like M&S, which have the same creative idea. Aldi's very similar. They have an idea that they use on repeat. So commercially, it's absolutely a brilliant thing to do. What else do you do alongside that main ad, though, to help support the commercial success?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the film is one part of the campaign, a strong performing part. We also are in the business of capturing high street footfall, coming to grab a burger in between your Christmas shopping. So we have really strong out of home that is not so much idea led, but is really product led to capture your attention. Like, oh man, that burger looks good. I want to go buy it. So that's a really strong component of the plan. We also kit our restaurants out, give them that little Christmas sparkle. I think it's great for guests, great for our teams as well, to make the retail environment just feel a little bit elevated at Christmas.
Yes.
And then also being culturally relevant is really critical to how we're building our brand over the long term. And so how we show up in social might look quite different to how we're showing up in AV, for example. So last year we had, as many brands do, the 12 days of Christmas, but ours was the 12 days of Rizmas. Riz was the word of the year last year, I believe. And so that was kind of like a brain rot themed 12-day giveaway. And that's really listening to what, I don't want to call them customers, just what our audience are asking for, and how do we engage with them and make that feel kind of elevated at Christmas time. So it all comes together to how the brand shows up during this time. Yeah,
fantastic. Because tapping into culture helps build that relevance and meaning and helps differentiate you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it works really well when it aligns. You're tapping not into just anything, but into things that align really well with what you're all about.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fantastic to see you doing that. So Believe in Chicken, you had in the ad last year, and that's what you were doing throughout the year. So thinking beyond Christmas now, how closely would you say those two things align?
I think they really are aligned. And you know what? I think creating this Sticking with Chicken campaign in 2023 almost was like a precursor to going into the Believe brand direction, because it brought us back to ourselves. About, we are a brand that's all about the chicken, and we've, said it quite clearly at Christmas time. We're in a really cluttered marketplace where chicken is, the number one protein. Everyone's having their stab at it, but we are all about the chicken, and that belief in chicken is who we are. It's who we've always been. So I think it really paved the way to getting back to ourselves and launching that Believe brand campaign, which launched in 24 and has continued throughout.
Yeah, and I think the similar tone of voice as well, the kind of the confidence, the humor, the unexpectedness,
definitely,
the twist, again done in different ways across different executions. That really aligns with your vibe, as a brand.
But you just have to, stay true to who we are, but refresh it.
Yeah. So you touched on something a moment ago that I think's really interesting in retail, which is, yes, of course, you're advertising to potential customers, but I think in retail it's also important to communicate with your staff, because being customer facing at Christmas time is pretty challenging.
Yes.
So you want to make people feel good about being in KFC.
Yeah.
How much of a consideration was that for you on this journey, and how important do you think that is?
Yeah, great question. We have, we're a franchise run business. Our franchisees are long-standing partners who've been in the business for a really long time for some of them. And we have a great relationship with them. And it's that really strong relationship that allows us to build the brand, build the business, and grow our restaurant estate. And they really are the biggest backers of bold work. Yeah. They love it when we're putting out kind of work that, you shorten a board meeting and it gets a lot of laughs, maybe a couple puzzled looks, and they say, go for it, which is an amazing testament to the relationship and the trust that they have. They know our brand, they know our customers because they're interacting with them as well. So they can give us those insights. And then we've got that trust where they say, go for it. Because when you get that momentum of excitement behind the brand, I think it just rallies everybody.
Yeah, brilliant. So they're actively involved in the process of uncovering those insights that are then a springboard for connection, but also in giving their feedback on the idea.
Yeah, to an extent. They have the trust to make sure we're strategically sound and then let us get on with it, the execution.
Fantastic. So you've got big expansion plans for the UK. I know there's a restaurant has just opened in Leamington Spa.
Yes, yeah.
So one of the places you're growing in. But what role will advertising play, do you think, in supporting that growth and the success of that expansion?
Yeah, it's a great question. We are on a mission to build a brand that really connects with the next generation. That's how we're going to ensure our success for the long term. And all of the brand building work that we do, including advertising, really helps us get there. Our Believe campaign, for example, really helped us connect with that next generation. Our brand buzz scores are at an all-time high, actually. So we just need to keep going at that. Yeah.
The Believe campaign, we've seen data not from our Link Plus solution, but from other areas that shows the sheer impact of that and people's ability to remember it was for you. So we can also see that momentum and that buzz really building, which is fantastic. So what would your main learnings be, do you think, from having developed this ad and gone on this journey? What do you think other brands can learn? What would your Christmas gift be for them?
My Christmas gift? I think it's the power of a clear brief and really knowing what your primary objective is. It's really tempting to write a brief that asks for a little bit of everything. I'm sure I've done it. I'm sure many of the listeners have done it. A sales driving campaign that builds the brand. That's a tough brief. So getting really sharp on what we wanted, which was, we know we need to stand out at Christmas and we think we need a platform, but actually we have this product and we need to sell it. So power of a clear brief, but also really knowing who you are. I think I feel quite fortunate at KFC that we're really clear on our brand identity, and that gives us the power to know what we would say yes and no to. And so when you have those two things, you can get lucky, actually, which we did with this one, and have a piece of work that does a couple of different jobs. But I think it's really knowing who you are and knowing what you're after.
Yeah, but you say there's luck, and of course there is always an element of luck, but I think you set yourselves up for success.
Yes.
With that brief and with that clarity.
Yeah.
So, as you say, we see consistently again and again when brands know who they are.
Yeah.
It makes them bolder.
Yeah, it gives us the confidence to know what is right for us and what's not. And I have to mention the agency relationships as well, because we didn't make this out on our own, obviously. Mother have been our partner for years and helped us through our brand transformation. And, even they'll say operating within these really clear constraints we know who the brand is, we know what we're after, we know what we can and can't do, is a great fertile ground, I think, for creative development.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The creativity that springs from a tight brief.
Yes, exactly.
Is much better than something woolly that asks for everything, as you say.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite Christmas ad?
Yeah, I think my favorite's got to be the Coke Anybody Can Be Santa. I can, as I say it, the song is in my head.
Me too.
Yeah, I love the kind of joyful nature of it. I think it's really like positive and uplifting. And it is so obviously a Coke ad. I think the power of distinctiveness there is amazing.
Yeah, it's like you. I think it embodies what the brand is all about.
Yeah.
And it's a global human truth. So I think the other strength you had was that insight, understanding what your customers wanted, even though you didn't deliver it. Similarly, they had a really powerful insight that underpins that, and it just makes that emotive connection with us, doesn't it? So it hits harder. So in the UK, I mean, people listening around the world may not realise, but this is a real moment in the calendar. So it's a bit of a Super Bowl moment and anticipation of what the ads are going to be like. There's excitement building. People love these ads and they wish ads were as good all year round as they are at Christmas. What do you think it is that makes ads at Christmas so brilliant, so loved, that people should be doing all year round?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm not from the UK, as you can probably tell from my accent. And when I moved here, I was quite struck by the kind of Christmas advertising landscape. That was new for me. And I was quite in awe of it, actually, and quite surprised by it as well. You guys love Christmas.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, which I love too. But I think the bar is just so much higher. The bar on creativity, on distinctiveness, because every advertiser, every retailer is going to be showing up. So I think any good marketer is talking about making sure their work is as distinctive as possible.
Yep.
Why is that not the bar year round, right? Like having advertising that gets your brand noticed and identified is a critical job that we have as marketers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're doing that.
Yeah.
You are. Yeah, it's brilliant to see.
Thank you.
Do you have any unusual Christmas traditions? So you said you're a Christmas fan.
I am
maybe
a
even
Christmas
more
fan.
so now you're over here.
Do you know what? I'm all about the tradition at Christmas. And every couple years, my family ask me, like, what if we try something else this year? And I just shut it down so hard. So every meal, the food items we eat at each of those meals, from breakfast through to dinner, please do not mess with it. If my parents are listening, please do not mess with it. For me, it's like, I am the consumer that wants that tradition at Christmas. And so it's something I look forward to year round.
So do you eat turkey at Christmas, Dani?
Yes. I would say not because it tastes good, but because it's tradition.
It's tradition. It's what we do.
My mum is a great cook, so our family Christmas turkey does taste good.
Ah, well done, Mum. Brilliant to hear. Any other festive treats in store from KFC that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, we've got probably our most exciting Christmas ever, dare I say, coming this year, because of course we've got the return of the stuffing burger, which is... It's probably one of my favorite innovations that we do in the year, paired with the great ad. But I talked about being culturally relevant, which is a huge part of how we're connecting with that next generation, building the brand. So we actually have a partnership with Stranger Things, with a Stranger Things burger launching as well. So you might have already seen it in market if you're in the UK, but we're hoping the combination of those two products is going to help us win at Christmas this year.
Exciting. Best of luck. I shall be paying a visit.
Oh, please do.
to go and try it out. So thank you, Dani, for everything you've shared with us today. I think there's so much listeners can learn from the journey you've been on. That ad is simply phenomenal. So you set out to be bold. You had the clarity of a great brief in terms of specifically what you wanted to achieve. But I think also the clarity of who is KFC? Magnetic North that you're aiming for on repeat. And then the execution is outstanding. The build up of humor to the joke, the use of music to do that really well, and landing that brilliantly, and the brand being so central to that. Humor works, and if you want to see a great example of how it works well, watch this ad, watch it again.
Oh, thanks, Lynne. Do you know what? You've got me remembering when we were in the edit suite for the first edit. I think we all clapped, laughed, and we had no comments. That rarely happens. So yeah, thank you. It's nice to hear the recognition for the craft and the insight, because I do love that ad.
Yeah. Deservedly so.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas when you get there.
Merry Christmas to you. Thanks so much.